Rangers' European campaign is over after they lost 3-1 to Ajax Amsterdam at Ibrox on Tuesday night. The Dutch Giants took the lead early on as Berghuis scored on the 4th minute before Kudus bolstered their lead on the 30th. Rangers managed to get one back though late into the second half when captain James Tavernier converted a penalty. However, 2 minutes later, the Ajax substitute scored on the 89th minute. The final goal ultimately left Rangers with the unwanted title of the worst ever Champions League group stage team. Whilst last night's result was far from positive, Rangers have been handed some good news ahead of Saturday's clash with St Johnstone with regards to Ben Davies. We will also provide you with an injury state of play as we go into the final few games before the World Cup, and finally discuss the 5 things we learned from Rangers 1, Ajax 3. And hello everybody, welcome back to the channel guys. Before we get into today's video, please do smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for daily Scottish football content. As we touched upon in the intro, Rangers' European journey is now over and the club must steady their focus back on domestic football. Rangers aren't in the worst of positions as they are in the League Cup semi-final and are still within touching distance in the Scottish Premiership, just 4 points behind Celtic. Next up for Rangers is a trip to Perth to take on St Johnstone. Ahead of the clash, there is some big news with regards to Ben Davies, and it is being reported that the Rangers defender will return to the fold and play a part after he was ruled out of the game against Ajax with injury on Tuesday night. Davies has been a mainstay within the Rangers side over the last couple of weeks, and is a handful of players that has actually played well this season, and after Tuesday's defensive woes, it will be a massive boost for the Gers. As we mentioned a couple of times, Rangers have been hit with so much bad luck, with 10 current first team players out on the sidelines with injuries. Last night's game confirmed the returns of Glenn Kamara and Alex Lowry, who both made cameo appearances off of the bench. But the likes of Ridvan Yilmaz, Ryan Jack, Connor Goldson, Felipe Alanda, John Suter, Yanis Hadji, Tom Lawrence and Kemar Roof all remain out, and in this part of the video we're going to provide you an update on when they're all expected to return. John Lundstrom missed the game last night due to suspension of picking up a 4th yellow card, so will be available on Saturday, and his absence wasn't to do with injury. Ridvan Yilmaz. Ridvan was withdrawn in the weekend's match against Aberdeen, and early tests have already confirmed that the player will be out until 2023. Yilmaz was just getting into the team and already we were starting to see things to get excited about, but now we will not see him until the new year. Rangers fans have been left frustrated with the situation around the striker, who so far this season has only played once since the Europa League final last campaign. That appearance came in the League Cup quarter-final with Dundee, but the player returned to the treatment table after he suffered another setback in training. The player is out for a couple of weeks, meaning he will not return until after the World Cup. The other players that will join Roof in not being available till after the World Cup are Tom Lawrence, Connor Goldson, John Suter, Felipe Alanda, Ryan Jack and Yanis Hadji. As you can see, there has been a lot of players out injured for Rangers so far this season, and does explain the inconsistency in the club's performances. In this part of the video, we are going to discuss the 5 things we learned from last night's result of Rangers 1, Ajax 3. Defensive woes. It was clear to see that Rangers need to invest in the defensive reinforcements in January. Young Leon King has been thrown into the deep end, an experience that will do him a world of good going forward, with ever-present Connor Goldson currently out, other centre-back options John Suter and Felipe Alanda also long-term absentees. Ben Davies' injury record since his summer arrival from Liverpool hasn't been great, and he missed this one with James Sands partnering King in the heart of defence. The defence look fragile and it seems the Gers can't hang their hat on players they have got, as they are either injury prone or just not experienced in general. Fashion show. One positive of last night was Fashion Sakala. It was a big night for the player, and once again, he did his chances no harm with a regular spot in the Rangers starting team. His direct running and pace is always a threat, his final ball isn't always on point, but when he gets the chance to go one-on-one, he doesn't hesitate to open his legs. He had a chance also cleared off of the line to follow up a great display against Aberdeen in the Scottish Premiership last weekend. He was caught napping for the visitors' second goal after failing to track a runner in the build-up, but overall had a really good performance. Too old. Rangers started the game with a 40-year-old goalkeeper, a 34-year-old midfielder, and a 37-year-old Ben Davies partnering him in the middle. It is clear to see that Rangers need an overhaul, and there are a lot of players that are past their best and just not good enough to be starting for Rangers in the Champions League. Injuries have played their part. Whilst last night in general was not a good performance from Rangers, it is clear that injuries have played their part. Rangers are without 10 first-team players, and whilst if those players were available, I'm not saying they would have qualified for the round of 16, but I do think the club would have done a lot better in all of the matches they featured in. An unwanted record. Last night's result now gives Rangers the unwanted record of the worst Champions League group stage ever, taking the crown off Dinamo Zagreb, who finished their 2011-2012 group stage with 0 points and a goal difference of -19, with Rangers finishing with 0 points also, but a goal difference of -20. This is embarrassing, and no matter what the excuses are, this is certainly an unwanted record. After the game, Rangers legend McCoist voiced what is going wrong with Rangers this season in Europe and said, "The level of one or two of our performances were completely unacceptable. Out of the whole campaign, I can only really remember a reasonable hour against Napoli at home and an acceptable 45 or 55 minutes against Liverpool at home. Recruitment from Rangers has not been good at all. You lose Bassi to Ajax, you lose Aribo to Southampton, you lose Patterson to Everton, you lose Balogun, who for some reason wasn't offered a contract, to QPR, you lose your best centre-half through injury. You end up playing against Ajax in the Champions League with a young kid at centre-back, accompanied by a midfielder on loan. You have no chance, absolutely no chance. There have been a couple of statistics that have disappointed me, but the big one is the running stats. In every game, the opposition have run more than Rangers. I find that difficult to accept, particularly when you don't have the majority of possession. If you have that common sense, you would indicate the opposition have to run about more than you. So Rangers' running stats should have been better, they've been poor. A bigger concern for me would be Rangers' level performance at Celtic Park in a couple of the league games. The results in the Champions League have disappointed me, one or two of them have shocked me, but I'm not overly concerned or surprised by both teams that have finished bottom in their group. Now that European football is over, Rangers can now concentrate on domestic football and look to get back to the Champions League group stage again next year. Rangers fans, what have you made of Rangers' European campaign so far this season? And do you think the Jazz have enough to compete for the title this year? Let me know your thoughts down there in the comment section below. That brings us to the end of today's video. Please do smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for daily Scottish football content.